affection since my baby left me behind.
This is just a good man feeling bad. But that's a condition you can overcome, as you will discover as we get into this unbelievable show that we have this evening. I'd like to welcome our community business profile, the very first one that we'll be doing on a regular, because there's no business like Mo business. So good evening to Brother Ihsan Munir, and I had to really work on pronouncing his name because that's some other kind of stuff, you know. And I hope he don't break out into that patois because he's originally from St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. Welcome to the Real Men Don't Play show,
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I had to have you, man, because you turned me on to those spices. And
That's
real
right.
quickly, what happened was I met this brother at Sam Watson's Celebrity Basketball Classic. He was in the presence of Julius the Chef Jackson,
Right.
who is the son of Julian the Hawk Jackson, who is considered pound for pound one of the hardest hitting fighters. He's also in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. And this brother kind of just spilled into my spirit. And as I got to know him, he had a right to be here this evening and talk about his product. Man, what you got in front of us here tonight?
Well, you know, I brought a couple of my spices. Like you said, you know, I make, manufacture, and sell authentic Caribbean spice blends, you know, which is all about, my whole goal is bringing the community together, bringing people together. And the best way to bring people together is through food. That's how we did it back in the islands where I'm from. And so, you know, I'm trying to give people a little taste of the Caribbean. So I brought a couple of the products, a couple of the spices. I think I got the one for beef and this newly released 340 boxing blend. And
now, are these spices your own personal concoction, or is it something that was passed down generationally? What's up with that?
you know, it's a combination of the two things. You know, I consider them my spices, but, you know, everything we get, we inherited from somebody else. And so my whole culinary journey began watching my grandmother and my mother cook in the kitchen and seeing how they would mix stuff up. And so by doing that, I just kind of learned, and then I just kind of created my own thing. And so I'll never take 100% credit for it because somebody had to teach me, you know. But the blends are my blends. But the inspiration and the foundational knowledge came from my mom and my grandma.
If your journey is successful a year from now, what would be the scenario for Island Boy Spices?
Major distribution, worldwide distribution throughout all the stores, throughout all the communities. I'd have my Cooking with the Island Boys show out on the networks, you know, taking it mainstream, showing people how, you know, we do it back in the Caribbean. And, you know, really what it is, man, is just giving what I'm selling. Yeah, I'm selling a product, I'm selling some spices, but it's all about the culture, man, and that's what it is. I'm really giving you an opportunity to experience my culture.
So, how do people purchase your product?
Right now, you purchase it online, www.shop.islandboyspices.com.
Break that down, man. Say that again.
www. I'm going to say slow. Make sure
Please.
they get it. www.islandboyspices.com.
Well, if they still didn't get that, can they Google your name and that's going to pop up?
They can Google Island Boy Spices. They can hit me up on Facebook at Ihsan Munir, or they could just hit me up on Facebook at Island Boy Spices.
You need
that's
to spell
easier.
Ihsan, man. I done messed that up so many times.
Ihsan, I-H-S-A-N, and last name Munir, M-U-N-I-R.
You see what they do to us across the water, man? That don't sound like that, do it? But ladies and gentlemen, this brother, man, deserves to sit in this chair, man. He's got a great spirit, a great family, and we wish him all the best. Go out and get Island Boy Spices. I can bear witness. I've tried it on everything that I cook, and I'm real particular about my food and my reputation.
Right.
So those of you who know me, and there are some folks listening right now who do, man, support this product, and you'll get what you're supposed to get out of it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ihsan Munir, man, thank you for coming in.
Man, thank you for having me.
My very first show, man.
And you know what? Why don't you hang on to a couple of those
You know I'm
bottles?
going to do that, man. I'm about out of that piece you gave me before.
Okay.
Because I'm using it in all the meals that I cook.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do.
All right, man. I appreciate that, man.
All right, thank you, man.
All the best, man.
Thank you, man.
All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep it 100 because we only have less than an hour. And for those that are listening now and those who will be listening over the course of a few days, it's important that you finally hear the voice of a man that for years you've seen me talk about and represent what he has meant in my life. So after we come back from break, the next voice you will hear is the one, the only, the great Jim Brown. Take me out of here, Larry.
In so many ways I can please. Hey,
What?
You know, when I was a kid, I always wanted to meet Jim Brown. When he played in the NFL, after the games was over with, we would go out and imitate this man. And I thought I wanted his autograph, like on a football or a T-shirt or something like that. But it got so much better in the early 90s when he autographed checks made out to me for services provided, long enough for me to understand and appreciate who he was as a man, not an athlete, not an entertainer, but as a man. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, please, the great Jim Brown to the show. And my first question to you, Jim, is...
Well, let me say hello to you, Bobby, and hello to your audience and to all the people out there. Now you can go to your first question.
Yes, sir. And I'm still taking orders from him.
I got to say hello. You know, we're talking to the people.
That's true, Jim. That's true. My first question is, in 1988, you went into your personal savings and took $300,000, and at that time and today, that's a whole lot of money, and you invested in human development. What made you decide to make that type of investment?
Well, all the success I've had as a man, a young man, Bob, is because certain people stepped up and gave me a hand. And I was riding with Kenny Malloy, who was an attorney that took me in as a high school kid. I had no father. And he really helped me. He got me into college. He was a great inspiration to me as a good man. And we were talking, and I asked him, I said, how can I pay you back? And at the time, I started to work with young people. And he said, Jim, just keep doing what you're doing. That's how you can pay me back. And so really, all of us who are out there that are trying to deal with our young people, we do it because it's the right thing to do. And there's no money in it. There's no fame in it. But there's a tremendous feeling of accomplishment when you see a young person that could have gone one way become successful, and then that person reaches back and contributes to the community that he came from.
Jim, I want to share something with the audience right quick and then let you address your reaction to it. This is, for our viewing and listening audience, the American Life Management Skills Curriculum. And when you open it up, there's a message from the president, and it says the following: welcome to the American program. The challenge of achieving your full potential is compelling. This life management skills training program is designed to empower you to do just that, to enable you to take responsibility for your own self-determination. The beauty of the American program is that it is applicable to all people as it transcends race, age, gender, religion, and socioeconomic status. My belief is that teaching and sharing the program concepts related to individual self-esteem could significantly impact the problems our society faces today. I feel that the American program is, in many ways, a missing link that empowers those exempted from power and participation in the mainstream. We believe in and work effectively with those whom society disregards, contending that it is never too late to attain a full, meaningful life. We in the American program are willing and capable of working with and enhancing any individual or organization that is motivated to affect positive change. Our practice is neither to condemn nor condescend. Completing this program will change your life and will help you become a contributor to a better community and ultimately a better nation. Jim Brown, President. What was your state of mind when you scripted that, Jim?
Well, Bobby, true success comes because an individual wants to be successful. And education is such a powerful tool. And in our country, black people have been denied the right to become educated on the highest level because those who are in power that dictate over us want to keep us in the dark, keep us uneducated, keep us fighting each other, keep us fighting over crumbs, teaching us not to be together, trampling on our self-esteem. And the American curriculum deals with those fundamentals that says that you are responsible for you. The responsibility of self-determination means if you want to be a contributor to what happens in your life or anybody else's life, you will have to be educated. And so those fundamentals, those life skill fundamentals, have been missing in so many of our communities because the expectation is that someone else is going to deliver us. But no one else is ever going to deliver anyone. You will be able to deliver yourself if you are educated properly and understand the fundamentals that it takes. So basically those skills in that magazine are things that once you learn those things, you will be on the road to success.
So who are some of the people who influence this manual, this curriculum?
That's a broad question. There's been so many people that has contributed to that manual. And two people I'd like to mention because we might have a chance to talk to them later tonight. Big Hugh is a fantastic contributor to every kind of success I've had in the communities around this country, not only in Los Angeles, but around this country, because he is a true community person that has the influence that I need to be able to put this kind of education out there. And the other one is, well, Big Hugh is like a son, but the other one is like my son, and that's Rudolph Rockhead Johnson. I've known him over 20-some years, and he has been an unbelievable contributor to the change, the successful change that we've had in this country. So I bring those two out because they are powerful, influential individuals. And at one time, they could have been tremendously negative, but they choose not to do that. And I was able to communicate with them, and we were able to form a team. And that team still exists. And we're getting ready to launch some very powerful things that put the responsibility on us. And what I've been able to say to them is no longer can we blame anyone else, no longer can we look for the money from other people, no longer can we look for the politicians. We can do something in our communities ourselves to make it safe for our children, our mothers, our fathers, our young ladies, and why not? It only takes our effort. So I gave you only two, but there are hundreds of individuals that have contributed to the development of that curriculum.
So on February 17th, you turned 78 years young.
78 years old.
Matter of opinion.
I don't duck old. I don't want to hear them mess about young. I ain't young. And it's okay to be old. I don't have Alzheimer's, and my memory is good.
Okay.
And I hope those who are listening think that my articulation is good. So, but anyway, I have to straighten those things out.
Well, one thing I've learned...
No excuses, you know.
One thing I've learned about this curriculum and its impact on my life, and I'm a graduate of the curriculum and a facilitator of the curriculum, is it's never a debate when a person speaks in first person. So his point is his point. But 78 years old, what compels you to still do this work?
Well, I tell you, I was talking to Rock earlier tonight, and he handed me a little, I don't know what you might call it. It's a flyer. It talks about Unity Day, 2/15/2014, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Everything is free, barbecue, music. And it says, come out and join us as we come together to save our communities. Man, my heart started pounding because Rock finally understands that he doesn't need me to lead everything. He doesn't have to wait for me. He can go into those communities and use his influence. And boy, when I saw this, it was unbelievable. And if we multiply this, there will be some major changes in this country. And I like to say, Bobby, my concept now is that we, as African Americans, as black men, have to take the leadership in our emancipation, and we can do it. We can make our neighborhoods safe. We can make our children have surrogate parents, surrogate fathers. We can make our ladies feel proud. We can make everybody look at our community and see one of the cleanest communities in the world. So that's where I'm headed now.
What makes the American Life Management Skills curriculum so universally impactful on lives of people from all different walks of life? And I say that in the construct that it's been taught in various parts of the world. We had programs in England and the West Indies and all across the United States. Why does it work for anybody?
It defines people correctly. When you read the message from the president, it said everyone. There's a category called black. There's a category called white. Unintelligent people try to use that. But the category is goodness, kindness, beauty, integrity, respect. And that's something that all human beings can possess. So the American curriculum brings that to the forefront, that you are not cursed from birth. You are a beautiful human being. All you have to do is realize it and exercise it. And if you have something that's good, and if it's not for everybody, it's not really good. So when you talk about integrity and respect and all of these things that people should do with each other, that is how you change the world. It's not going to be the weaponry. It's not going to be the gangsters. It's not going to be force. It's not going to be the mightiest bombs. It's going to be man's humanity to man. Man caring about man. And everybody, Rock, Big Hugh, and all the brothers and sisters that we deal with, the one commonality is that they care about themselves and they care about people. And they use the power that they have to put that word out, and they get tremendous results. And therefore, when you see them, they are brimming with the residue from the love that they've put out there and the love that they're getting back. I had a little kid that went through the program. He was just about 14 years old and bragging about how much he had, with his girlfriend and how, ooh-wah wop and ooh-wah whip. And when he went through the program, suddenly there was a difference in his girlfriend. She was treating him better. She was loving to him. She was giving him respect. And he said, holy smokes, Jim, I didn't know this program would do that. I thought it was some highfalutin program that, you'd have to be some kind of genius to operate from. But no, those fundamentals that he employed on her made her feel like she was a queen, and therefore she wanted to return that kind of feeling to him. So that's what it's all about, Bobby. It's not any more complicated than that.
So, I can. The significance of I. Why in the manual and in the instructions for teaching and participating in the curriculum do you have to speak in first person?
Well, you notice when you tell a person speaking in the first person, the conversation gets cut in half. All of a sudden, they're talking about themselves. in a way of honesty, and that's difficult. Because when you tell the truth about yourself, you got to talk about those negative things as well as the positive things. But you always hear people talk about those people. Well, who are those people? You always hear the blame being put somewhere else. It's always your woman, your wife, not you. But the thing is that you have to look in the mirror. You know, the curriculum tells you to look in the mirror and then express yourself. And we all will look at you then in a true light. And if you are really what you say you are, there'll be no hesitation. But there's so much hesitation when you tell a person speaking the first person I, because suddenly it's just about them with no crutches, no excuses, no blame. And see, the blame game is that slavery was a horrible situation. We know that. But we can't use that as a crutch. You know, racism is a horrible situation. We can't use that as a crutch. We have to live above all of those things. And then the way that we treat each other and the way that we deal with our lives will be influential across the world, because every human being wants to be loved. I was in Folsom, and there was about 300 inmates. And I had a little trick I played on them. And I said, I got something I'm going to say to all of you, and nobody's going to disagree. And if you disagree with what I say, raise your hand. Now, you know, that's a bold thing to say in a prison.
Especially
every kind of inmate you want, you know, I mean, it's a level 4 institution. I said, if there's anybody in this room that don't want to be loved or cared for by somebody, you raise your hand. And nobody wanted to lie. So no hands went up. They did not want to tell that lie, because deep down inside, we want to be loved or cared for by somebody. That is a human characteristic, and it is a powerful characteristic. Because if I go for 15 years and I have 300 or 400 gang members in my home, and no one's ever attacked me or robbed me or even disrespected me, what do you think that is? Because I'm big bad Jim Brown? No. But they know that they're there because I care about them. And the minute that I become phony and don't care, it'll be a dangerous situation to be in.
I got to, before we go to break, ask you to share an amazing phenomenon. A few years ago, you and a friend of probably close to 40 years now, George Foreman, took the American program into the most dangerous penitentiary that's probably ever been constructed in this country, down in Louisiana, Angola prison. Could you talk briefly about that experience?
Oh boy, Bobby, it's unbelievable. I'll tell you something. The prisons, if you go into them, and you will learn something totally different than you think you would learn, because people in prison are human beings, and they have feelings, and they have detectors. They can feel things, and they know when someone is coming there to bring goodwill to them. And that human element says, hey, I don't want to resist this. In fact, I want to embrace it because I need some of this. This is what I needed before I came here. Because the cry in the jungle, the cry in the wilderness, you know what the cry is? It's when a man cries out that nobody cares about me. So what the hell, I'll do anything. Nobody gives a stuffing about me. And that's one of the worst human conditions that a person can have. Or that's one of the worst feelings that a person can have. And so many people have been abandoned. In the African American community, so many people have been abandoned And so many fathers have left home, and they have left their kids crippled. And those crippled kids can put guns in their hands and kill people because they don't mind dying. See, the phenomena is that a certain kind of killer is so dangerous because he don't mind dying, so there's no reasonability. But the fact that there is no caring in a person's life makes them a very dangerous person. And so I keep getting back to the same thing. You got to love, you got to care, and it's got to be real. And that's the human factor, and that's basically what American works from. But it puts a thing on you because the excuse of everybody made me do it don't work. So you have a responsibility to point the finger at you. You have to speak in the first person I. And that makes it difficult because how do you lie to yourself when you're talking about I? But when you're talking about those people, oh, it's very easy.
Got a lot of alibis.
Oh, yeah, it's very easy. I tell my guys on the golf course, look, man, you got a sack that you're carrying on your back. And every minute you're pulling something out of there as another damn excuse. So keep all those excuses in that sack. In fact, leave that sack home because I'm going to kick your butt just hitting the ball right. Anyway, I throw that in for a little fun.
Okay, we're going to go to a short break, and when we come back, we're going to meet some of the models of possibility that Jim has sold into their lives, and as a result, there are communities that are far safer today. So we'll be right back after this short break.
Hey, are you tired of those same old energy drinks with bad taste? Make a switch to Pit Bull Energy Drink with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Pit Bull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pit Bull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Make a switch to Pit Bull Energy Drink. Pit Bull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pit Bull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products. For more information on Pit Bull energy drinks, bars, and mixes, visit their website at hiphopbev.com. That's hiphopbev.com. Online orders available at hiphopbev.com.
All right, we're black, and now we have in the house some brothers that truly reflect the investment in human development that Jim Brown made in 1988. Sitting to my right, the name that was on his birth certificate is Eugene Henley, but he's known around the world as Big U. So, brother, tell them what it is that puts you in that seat right now.
Oh, well, it's the man to my right, my inspiration. I like Bobby, grew up, and Jim was my idol. And I heard Jim was having a meeting a couple of years ago. And it was about, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, a couple.
And we was in the streets. And from that mentality, we came up to meet Jim. And it was about football and sports. But he gave me something it had a more indelible effect on my life. And it then eventually had an effect on the change and helped me to change my community and to help me make better decisions that would better lead us to, be here, reach here. I mean, getting here, this community, this seat, and being here with Jim to my right and with you to my left, brother, was it was really an inspiration from Jim. And it came from what he gave us developing the program, and me just learning how to become a man from him.
Well, you left out a lot of stuff because your journey has been quite remarkable. And in the time that has expired since you first met Jim at his home in particular, what are some of the things that you have accomplished and impacted local and national communities?
Well, the most important thing that I'm more proud of is that we took the model of American program when I came home, and we implemented it in the streets. I was able, since 2004, my return, to drop the murder rate within our community from 147 murders a year down to about 14 gang-related murders. We're instrumental in changing the look at Crenshaw High School. I've put maybe 6 to 7 kids up this year for the first time going up to the NFL draft. We have about 40 or 50 that's actually at D1 colleges, and that's through our program. And it's just really I've been able to be an example of what American can do for you. I like to say that what I offer is myself up as an example. I come from a struggling struggling father's household. I'm at the same plight that most young men are faced with today, and I no longer accept the excuse that you can't do it. I'm a prime example of what you can be if you did make those mistakes.
Maybe you're trying to sell a secret, but we came out of commercial with some music that is also a byproduct of your productivity. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, that was also a product of your loins that was doing the music.
Right. Well, that's my son, and he offers up a different style of music, a different genre of music. Young, energetic, but it's absent of the gang. It's absent of the gang connotation. There's no references to red or blue. He has about 7 or 8 songs, and it doesn't align him with any color. I made it a point that when I returned home to introduce my son to everybody. Suge, Snoop, no color lines. I wanted them to be able to make intelligent decisions in their life. I didn't want him to have to follow what I was and what I did. And I definitely didn't want him to follow the same ignorance that I did. So the music that you're hearing is a reflection of him coming up in the hood still, because I was gone for 13 years. Being separated from him for 13 years and him hearing the stories that they assumed I was going to come home, the person I would come home and be is not the person I am today. I try not to be. And this music represents a different part of L.A.
Okay. The gentleman to my extreme left, I met him at Jim's house under extremely difficult situations. I talked myself into a position of having to honor the right to be where I was at. And he reminded me of a gentleman named Duke Man Sneed, who's a homeboy from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And when I referred to that, he looked at me and said, "Who is Duke Man Sneed?" And then I had to quickly tell him that he reminded me of him. And then when he didn't hit me in my throat, which he was capable of, we were able to establish some discourse that has went on for over 20 years now. Ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to say hello to Rudolph Rockhead Johnson. Welcome to the Real Men Don't Play show.
Appreciate it, Bobby. My journey was different, a little different, rough. I had no respect for any adults in my life at all. Didn't know my biological father. My mother raised 8 of us, 4 girls, 4 boys. All of us had different dads. Grew up in Compton and went to jail at 12 and just had no respect. And I wanted to be one of the most dangerous, most fearful individuals that ever lived in the gang world, in prison, etc. And I became that person to a strong degree where I had no respect for any adults. And I had an opportunity to hear that Jim Brown had a lot of gang members at his house. And I personally felt if I wasn't there, he had no gang members at his house. So I took about 60 to 70 guys up there. That was at the time that the Tasha Harley killing of the little young lady got killed supposedly by the Koreans, and there was a lot of tension. So Jim had the Koreans up there and the brothers up there trying to get an understanding. But I had no understanding when I saw the Korean because I saw cameras. And I felt that time that, you know, I'm coming up here, I'm thinking he got gang members up here, but instead he got Koreans with cameras, and he got guys who thought they were tough in my eyes, but I knew they weren't. And so I came in rudely and a brute, and I left just as rudely and a brute. And 2 things hit me when I was leaving. You know, Jim yelled out. There was no disrespect meant, you know, that was Rockhead. He wasn't supposed to come this today, he was supposed to come another day. And he gave me all the respect in the world when I was so disrespectful. The other thing was, as we were leaving, the Korean was bringing all this food up. And all my homies looked at me and said, "Big homie." I'm like, "What?" can we at least stay and eat the food? And that stuck in my head because these guys would ride with me, but they were hungry. You know, and as we went back down the hill, and we stopped at Fat Burgers on San Vicente and La Cienega, it really messed with me. And someone gave Jim my number, and he called me a few times, and I had no conversation for him. You know, I kept hanging up on him. They didn't really want to talk. And then one day he challenged my manhood. And they asked me, was I a man or a girl? And it wasn't in them terms either. And I told him I'm a man. And I rode up to his house. And I had my gun with me. He answered the door, and we looked each other in the eyes, and he asked me that same question in a way that no man have ever talked to me without me striking at him. And I looked him back in his eye, and for the first time in my life, I knew this was a man I was facing. And we bonded from that moment on. And in bonding, you know, he wanted me to go through his program, the life skills, and it took me a minute because I'm so used to bossing people around. When the facilitator tried to guide me through a smooth transaction from I can to I can, I'm trying to tell the facilitator what to do. You know, so it was a battle for me to be guided by anyone other than myself. And once I basically got over that hump, I started believing in the program. And believing in the program, I started living it. And it wasn't easy. You know, it was hard. I had my trials and tribulations. It was hard. But I'm going to tell y'all something. For not knowing your father and for considering another man as your father and the only father you know, everything this man took me through, the good, bad, and indifferent, I know that's how a father is supposed to deal with his son. Mm-hmm. When I wasn't right, he dug in my butt. Mm. He dug in my butt. When I was right, he didn't pat me on my back. He looked at me. That's what man's supposed to do. And once I really understood the American program and the life skills, and once I truly understood that I wasn't cursed at birth and I was somebody, I tried everything within my power to take it to another level. And one of the ways I took it to another level, I created the I Can All-Stars basketball team. And if you notice, the I Can All-Stars, I took the I Can out the middle of Amer-I-Can, and I created that basketball program with the same concept of Amer-I-Can program. And in doing so, I got over 260 kids to college since 1995. I presently have 45 kids playing Division I ball right now. I have 4 kids, young men who playing in the NBA right now. And it just motivated me to really be that person, to be the rock I never had for myself. The Jim Brown, who's my father, I'm that same person to the young man I deal with every day. And that's how I live and that's how I eat. And the biggest thing is Jim always pushed me to go beyond myself. And I always like, man, my expertise is limited. You know, I can't try to find money, hustle money. I've been traveling. I've been meeting different people. People tell me they got contracts. It's been a hard journey for me. But the one thing I know, I've realized I have naturally is when I go back to them streets and when I communicate with them streets, and them streets really respond. And because of that, this Saturday, on the 15th of this month, we're taking back a street that was a hot area in the city of Compton. And we got over 20 different gangs that's going to be there. We have over 200 to 300 brothers who committed to be there. And we're going to have jumpers. We're going to have everything for our community to show that we can live in peace and we can enjoy ourselves. And that's where I'm at today.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to take you on a little journey that simulates sitting in Jim Brown's living room where history has been made since 1967. We'll be right back after this short break.
The best thing ever happened to me. But I'm too much man to cry. Cannot hide. one come to me.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Real Men Show. Since 1988, the American Foundation for Social Change, with or without outside resources, has impacted, saved, and changed lives all over the United States and different parts of the world. And Jim, during the break, we kind of discussed a little bit where we are right now and what it's going to take to breathe the kind of life into the American program to the extent that it attracts not just material resources but human resources to be more effective dealing with the problems that have crippled our society today. What's your take on that?
Well, basically, my take is a simple one. Over the years, through education and through support, we have developed professors of social change. Big Hugh talks to me in a manner that a professor would talk to me because he's talking about a legitimate study that will prove that our work has been successful. How to analyze that, how to gather the data on that, and how to present that data. Now, in our society, we live in a capitalistic society. Contracts are handed out with conditions. These conditions are based upon the old principles that don't work. Mm-hmm. Our professors have created a principle that works. You heard them talk about the kids that they have affected, the kids that are going to college. Well, those other folks can't say those things because they don't have the proper techniques, the proper respect, and they're not truly professors of the street. So we must be able to say that if we can raise $100 million and create and develop these professors all over this country, and they can use the proper technique on these youngsters and with these youngsters, we will then have tremendous social change. But you understand when you get a contract from the state or the city and the politicians, they want immediate gratification and they want a certain kind of results which does not have the substance that you need for major change. And I'll give you a quick example. Nelson Mandela is a wonderful human being. He became president of South Africa. But South Africa didn't change that much because he was president. Because so many of the people were uneducated. And you could not put those uneducated people in the kind of jobs that they needed to be put in because they were not really qualified. Mm-hmm. So you had to take into consideration the years that it was going to take to adjust the masses by education and make those changes over a period of time. So in this country, you can't have funding for 6 months and then wait another 6 months for them to refund you and interrupt your professors because they have to eat 360 some days a year. So the reality is that in big business, you take that in consideration. But when you're talking about social change and the brilliance of it, you don't want to give those professors the same deal. So we have to raise monies that will allow us to claim independence, but allow us to support the kind of work that is going to be successful. And that doesn't necessarily always gel with the normal money sources. So at a certain point, we will go to the general public and ask them to support us. There is an internet now. There is ways that the general public can put $2 into an account and know that it will be going to the right thing and to the right people. And our professors will be given the same respect, and their work will be enhanced because it will be continual, not interrupted because there's a lack of funds until we decide we're going to now refund you, and what you do in the 6 months between it, we don't care. It can't be that way. And I hope I explained that, Bobby, because it's important for our general public to understand that the answer lies with the marriage between the street professors and the general public.
Well, not only did you explain it, in the 20-some years that I've known you, we've had that conversation many times, and I've always just elevated my admiration for you because I've seen you do that personally. You're not asking America to do what you have not done over the last 26 years with this program, because I don't have a figure, but you have invested your own personal money knowing that it wasn't going to happen overnight. So it's important for the public to understand the investment that has to be made, and the possible return on that is immeasurable. So as we close out the show tonight, I want to just let everyone know that thanks to the man sitting to my far right, I have written a book entitled Real Men Don't Play, and it's a compilation of stories about men who say what they mean what they say, and in the process of their life they have performed at a certain level that is exemplary and something that can be utilized in everyday life. It's not just about the book, it's about the mission. And the mission at this point is never changed. And that is saving and changing lives and giving people the opportunity to do in life what they're fully capable of doing if they know about it. Marcus Garvey once said, "What men have done, men can do." And as we close out the show this evening, I'm going to ask Rock to have a few final words, Big U, and then we'll let Jim end the show. Rock, your thoughts?
I mean, my thoughts is real simple. Each of us help the other become a better person, and I'm going to close with that.
Big U?
I personally want to say that, expounding on what our leader Jim was saying, was that we need more responsible people, more educated people under the curriculum to teach other people. And what he was basically saying is the funding is not always there and consistent. I think what happened was Jim was the first one to take this forward progress movement and take young African-American men and then first teach us to become leaders in our own communities and how to rightfully become leaders. The one thing I want to say that he said to me was like, how could you be a leader if you can't feed your people? And that was more profound than anything else that had ever been said to me. And but it's a lot more to it. And he's saying that under Jim, we're going to continue to reach out and continue to teach people. And what I do now is I make change psychologically by giving the people the same thing he gave me, and a prime example, and no more excuses. There it is.
Mr. Brown.
Well, Marshall County, Mississippi was proclaimed the poorest county in the United States by Senator Jacob Javits. The Black Economic Union with the athletes and the intellectuals adopted that county, helped them elect a mayor, but also helped them feed the people. We had a program called Food First. Some of those flyers are in my garage at this time. So it's interesting that the two most powerful young men have mentioned food, that basic necessity, right? Well, my closing statement is that I don't know how smart I am. I don't know how smart I want to be portrayed, but I was smart enough to understand where to go to find the proper leadership to affect the masses of people. And I didn't go to the top. I didn't go to the colleges. I didn't go to corporations. I didn't go to the armed forces, the police department. I went to the so-called streets. And what you are seeing here tonight, or what you have heard, is two young men that came from the streets, made a major change in their life, and will be the salvation of the change that's going to come for our young people in the future. That's my statement, Bobby.
As I close tonight, You can acquire more degrees than a thermometer and not be able to find your way out of a one-room apartment with an exit sign over the door. And that means, in simple terms, I have a college degree. Jim graduated in 4 years while he played every sport they had at Syracuse University. But what matters most is common sense is not that common. What it takes eternally is the willingness to accept responsibility for self-determination. We hope that we have provided, and I know we provided you with some insights that you can use in your daily life, and we hope that you'll come back next week for the second edition of Real Men Don't Play. And on behalf of my guests, my family, thank you for letting me be myself again. We out of here.
For my team, I play the captain. Hit the block, I make it happen. In the booth, studio chopping. See, I'm really about that action. For my team, I play the captain. Hit the block, and make it happen. In the booth, studio chopping. See, I'm chopping off this iPhone. Writing hella song. Until bitch, she get me down. Now they keep me in.